Hey collectors, before we get started with this week's concert poster conversation, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss any of the content GoCollect has to offer.
Hey there collectors, welcome back to another concert poster conversation. I'm Katie, I'm here with Glenn from the Psychedelic Art Exchange, and today we are talking about the history of the Fillmore and Bill Graham. So before we get to these pieces that we have here, why don't you just tell us who Bill Graham is and why he's so important to the history of concert posters?
Wow. Bill Graham, in my estimation, is the greatest rock and roll impresario of all time. He was super important in the creation of what happened in San Francisco in the late 60s. He was the businessman. He was the irascible, excitable, difficult but brilliant, wonderful, passionate inspiration behind a great deal of it. Yeah, the musicians, the artists, the bohemians were the inspiration for the scene, but Bill made this happen. Without Bill being that irascible individual, that grain of sand that became the pearl, none of this would happen. But this is the prehistory. I mean, Bill Graham was an immigrant. He was a concentration camp survivor. He emigrated to the States and became interested in showbiz, which got him to San Francisco, where he became the manager of the San Francisco Mime Troupe. And this is the path how that became the Fillmore Auditorium. So we're going back to '65, the prehistory of all of this. And
so we can start off by talking about this handbill right here.
This is the Mime Troupe Appeal 2. This was the second benefit concert that Bill Graham put on to raise money to help the mime troupe that were in legal trouble for performing without permits in the park, and they were pushing the envelope about what they could do in public. Bill started a series of events to raise money for their cause, and this is an important. There was Mime Troupe 1, which was at another location, but this is the first event that Bill Graham ever produced at the Fillmore Auditorium. This featured Jefferson Airplane and a handful of other performers, but also not noted on the handbill itself, this was the first appearance of the Grateful Dead at the Fillmore under the name Grateful Dead. It's not on here, but this is verifiable. So this is the next one in the series. The SF Mime Troupe Appeal 3 is the first time the Grateful Dead appeared in print on a poster.
Mm-hmm. Right, formerly known as the Warlocks.
Formerly the Warlocks, because Bill did not, he was like, what do you mean you got a new name? This is, he wasn't putting up with any of it. Bill was not, he was not touchy-feely in certain circumstances. But
right.
he was a wonderful, warm-hearted, incredible individual, but he was the guy that got things done.
Right. All right, and so this particular piece right here, if we're kind of moving into the value portion, how rare is this? What does it go for?
I mean, impossibly rare. This is, the poster itself is one of the holy grails. There's just a handful of the posters. They were on cardboard and they're very difficult. And but the handbills are exceedingly rare too. And to survive in this condition is really unheard of. So, I mean, in today's market, 5,000 to 10,000, but that's embarrassingly low for something that's this scarce and important. It's just not sexy like, what did they all evolve to? This is very plain, but this is ground zero.
All right, so let's move on to this one right over here, this poster.
So after the success of the Trips Festival, Bill Graham realized that there was something going on in San Francisco, and he wanted to be part of it. So within days, he got a lease on an old performing arts, an old dance hall in San Francisco, the Fillmore Auditorium, and he began putting on shows at the Fillmore. At the first few shows, he shared the ballroom with Chet Helms. The first 4 Family Dog concerts were also at the Fillmore until Bill said, Chet, you got to find your own place.
Right.
And that's when he moved into the Avalon Ballroom. But yes, this takes us to BG1.
Yeah, talk about the cataloging of that a little bit first.
Well, first of all, number 1 is the most important number in collectibles. This is the first. This is ground zero. And so just the first Bill Graham poster in and of itself is a story. This poster has a little more controversy. And yes, it ties into Eric King's cataloging system quite well. This is BG1 OP-2. This is,
yeah, Bill Graham.
and this is an original
print.
printing, pre-concert printing version or alternate printing number 2. This was printed in a quantity of 350.
Okay.
The OP1 has a story behind it. The OP1 pre-concert printing was printed in a quantity of 150. And
So that gives you 500 total of this particular poster.
that's correct. But the OP-1 is even scarcer because what happened was Peter Bailey, the artist, had printed his name as a credit on the side of the poster. And Bill Graham wanted to have nothing to do with this and kind of blew his top and demanded that the poster get reprinted without the credit. So the 150 OP-1 with the Peter Bailey credit are scarcer, more rare, but this is still a completely authentic pre-concert number 1 printing.
Were they both used to advertise, or was
Yes,
just this
yes,
one? Okay.
they were both pinned up, but the OP-1 went up first, and likely
Made
less.
Bill Graham unhappy.
Yes, and apparently there was there were. It's really incredible that a copy has survived in this
Right,
condition.
I was going to ask you about that. It's been in this 9.6 condition for over 50 years. How did?
Well, there's a bit of a story behind that. Wolfgang's Vault, who everyone, or maybe some of you are familiar with, was the company that purchased the Bill Graham archive after Bill died. His promotion company got sold, and the archive got split off to another company that was then named Wolfgang's Vault. At the time, they tried to consolidate the poster market. And I guess the biggest thing they did, they acquired Jacabercast or Psychedelic Solution. And
From New York, right?
From New York. And several other dealers. So at that time, me and my business partner realized that they were consolidating posters and that they were all in one location. So we got an opportunity to visit Wolfgang's Vault, and at that point in time, we were sort of onto this whole thing that 1966 or the first 30 to 40 Bill Graham posters was the sweet spot.
Yeah.
So we were going through the vault and going through the first 30 or 40 FD and BG posters and holding them up to the light for pinholes. They thought we were out of our mind. Nobody was looking at condition then. Condition was not. Nobody was thinking of CGC. And at that time, we had an opportunity. We saw about a half a dozen fresh copies of this poster, and we scooped them right up. It was an impossible thing. They've since been absorbed by the collecting market, but this was a huge opportunity. This is a stash. Stashes happen in collectibles sometimes. And finding fresh copies of this poster in this condition is an anomaly, but it's an important story that they do exist for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm. All right. So it's interesting. How many posters did Peter Bailey do for Graham? Is it just this one? Because I know Wes Wilson did most of the original Fillmore posters.
Well, yeah. So this was number 1. Peter Bailey did do another 1 or 2 throughout the series, but they weren't. Wes Wilson started at number 2 with the Batman, and then created another 60 posters or so until his relationship with Bill was too fractured to continue. And then it went on to a host of amazing artists from that point.
Right, and this is kind of right before the psychedelic style as we know it developed, and it's still, you can still kind of tell what it says. It's pretty simple. It's not as colorful as some of the later ones, but it is significantly more interesting than some of the earlier ones that came before.
Yeah, this was the very beginning. And then Wes Wilson, you can see how he took it and how the whole thing evolved through Wes's first 60 or so posters. This is where this style and this aesthetic and the lettering came from. Wes was the father of the psychedelic poster in many ways. So.
All right, well, we can move into the music a little bit too. I mean, this is Jefferson Airplane, who are credited with kind of developing the San Francisco sound. Was this one of their earliest appearances?
Yeah, it's one of their earlier appearances. It was before Grace Slick was in the band. They were a folk band morphing into a rock band. It was very early, but it was where it all jumped off. I mean, the Grateful Dead didn't show up until BG9. The early days, it was Big Brothers, Quicksilver, the Dead, and it was a tsunami was building.
Right.
It was all very intimate and very interesting.
All right, so for this one, let's talk value and rarity for a second. What do you think something in good condition is going to go for?
An OP1 or an OP2?
Talk about both of them.
I mean, the OP1, as I said, is exceedingly scarce and hard to find in good condition. That piece, if you found it in this condition, would start at 25,000, but that hasn't even, gotten to the level of appreciation that it deserves. The OP1, we're in the 5,000 to 10,000 range right now, but again, it's an embarrassingly low value for something this scarce and this important.
All right. And if you have any more questions about value or you just want to research the value of various posters more, please take a look at our concert poster price guide. We'll put the link in the bio for you. Do you have anything else to add?
No, just have fun and, collect posters.
Absolutely. All right, well, thank you for liking, subscribing, and commenting on this video. Thanks for taking a look at our concert poster conversations. If you've got any comments, any other stories about Bill Graham, anything you want to say about Jefferson Airplane, please leave those right under this video right here. And we'll be back with another concert poster conversation soon.